Under the shadow of the Roman Empire, the Book of Acts begins in a world where power speaks through soldiers, courts, and fear. Rome controls the land with law and force, and its presence is impossible to ignore. The streets of Jerusalem feel tense, watched, and tightly governed. Roman rule promises order, but it is the order of a conqueror, and beneath it is a constant pressure that shapes everyday life. Acts opens right where the Gospels leave off. Jesus has risen. He gives final instructions, and his followers are told to wait. They are not told to gather weapons, rally supporters, or seize control. Instead, they wait in prayer. Then Pentecost comes, and everything changes. A movement begins led not by power, but by the Spirit. The church is born in public, in a city already filled with political suspicion and religious intensity. Rome allowed certain local customs, but only as long as peace was maintained and loyalty remained clear. Any movement that looked like rebellion or social disruption could be crushed without hesitation. That is why the growth of the early church is so surprising. These were not political leaders or military strategists, yet their message spreads quickly, and it spreads where authorities can hear it. But Acts is not only about Rome. Inside the Jewish world, the tension is already high. Many Jews are waiting for deliverance, but the idea of Gentiles being fully included in God's promises is deeply controversial. Jews and Gentiles live side by side, but they are divided by tradition, law, and identity. The early church is forced to face a question that could fracture the movement. Can people shaped by centuries of separation truly become one body? Peter's vision of the sheet and the conversion of Cornelius turn this conflict into a major turning point. This is not just a personal story, it is a social earthquake. The gospel is crossing a boundary that many believed should never be crossed. The church is expanding, but it is also being tested from within. Then comes the backlash. Persecution rises not only from Roman pressure, but from religious leadership that sees this message as dangerous. Stephen stands before the Sanhedrin, speaks with boldness, and becomes the first martyr. His death sends a message. This movement will be opposed with real violence. Believers scatter, but instead of silencing the faith, scattering spreads it. Even the story of Saul, later known as Paul, shows how intense this conflict becomes. He begins as a pursuer of Christians, convinced he is defending truth. Then Acts flips the script. Saul is transformed, and the very man who once tried to stop the movement becomes one of its strongest voices. From there, Acts becomes a story of movement. The message travels by roads built by Rome, across seas patrolled by Rome, into cities shaped by Roman culture. The empire created the system, but the gospel moves through it. Churches form in diverse places among diverse people in an age that was not built for unity. And by the end, the story reaches Rome itself, the heart of the empire, not through conquest, but through witness. Not through violence, but through perseverance. The Book of Acts shows the collision between empire and faith, between division and unity, between fear and spirit-led courage. Under the weight of history, the church did not disappear. It advanced.